In 2021, the members of the Panagia Greek Orthodox Church in Cohasset, Massachusetts, decided to move forward with their community center project. This is their story. Welcome to the idyllic seaside community of Cohasset, Massachusetts. Cohasset was originally explored by Captain John Smith in 1614, 6 years before the Pilgrims landed in Plymouth, Massachusetts. The Native American settlers called the area Quanahasset, which meant long, rocky place. Cohasset was originally part of Hingham, Massachusetts until 1770, when it was incorporated as an independent community. Today, Cohasset remains a quiet suburb of Boston, Massachusetts with a scenic downtown area, plus a multitude of exquisite homes lining its rocky coastline. In the northern part of the town, you'll find the Weir River, which flows into the Influent Straits Pond, home to many birds, including majestic swans. This is where our story begins. Colonel Albert Augustus Pope served in the Union Army during the Civil War in the 35th Massachusetts Volunteer Regiment. Along with his wife, Abby Linder Pope, they vacationed in their summer residence, a 50-acre estate which bordered Straits Pond and North Cohasset. Pope and his wife became permanent residents in 1898, after their son Charles died at the age of 16. It was on this estate that Pope himself would die in 1909. In 1879, Pope started the Pope Manufacturing Company, which produced the Columbia brand of bicycles and tricycles. Pope became an instrumental figure in the mobility of American society. In 1897, he expanded into electric vehicles. By 1899, over 500 Pope electric vehicles were on the road. Pope is credited with being the first auto manufacturer to use mass production practices. In 1900, Pope's factories produced more motor vehicles than any other factory in the world. Eventually, the manufacture of the electric vehicles was spun off into the Columbia Automobile Company. Also in 1900, Pope's wife, Abby, decided to build a shrine in memory of their late son, Charles, who drowned nearby. The Pope Memorial Church was constructed. Over the last 125 years, the church has been called home to many Christian denominations. In 1980, the church became a community of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America and was renamed the Nativity Assumption of the Virgin Mary Greek Orthodox Church, also known as the Panagia Greek Orthodox Church. It all started in 1980 with a for sale sign in front of the church and a $1,000 check. Michael Vallis, Ernest and Mary Sophis, plus Eugenia Sermopoulos were instrumental in the creation of the community. They contacted acquaintances, family, and friends to raise money for a down payment. On December 6, 1980, with the help of the Cohasset Savings Bank, the purchase was completed and the dream became a reality.
Well, the whole process goes back quite a number of years, back to the turn of the century, actually, when we started to put a foundation in and we tore down the old parish house that was in the area here, and we decided that we'd put up a community center. And we did a lot of preliminary work plus the foundation by 2006. And then there was a brief interruption while we accumulated more funds, and we decided a conscious decision was to fund it as we go along, which meant that it was going to take some time, whether we liked it or not.
It would take 15 years before the parish had enough funds to continue with the project, and in 2021 the construction of the community center began again, but this time with a clearer path towards its completion. Because of newer environmental requirements, the original foundation needed to be upgraded before any new construction could begin. The new upgrades would require extra time and funds. Unfortunately, that would place an additional financial burden on the parish.
Well, we were fortunate in having a supportive town. There were requirements on the part of the Conservation Commission, but they were reasonable and well taken in view of the fact that we're in an environmentally sensitive area called Straits Pond here in Cohasset. We were sensitive to that, and we wanted our new building to be sensitive to that. So we followed the instructions of the town to the letter, and we had their support as we went along, and it worked out well.
I got involved in this project through my mother, believe it or not. She's a member of the church, and she said, could you call Ed Loughran? They're having some issues. So I called Ed, and the contractor who was originally in here had some health issues. So I came in, I thought I was just going to give him some guidance, and then it kind of morphed into finishing the project, actually.
The addition of Bill would prove to be essential to the project. He was the person who handled all the details like scheduling, procuring the building materials and permits, plus selecting all the subcontractors that would be needed. From plumbers to electricians to concrete and masonry to carpenters, Bill made it all happen.
The initial reaction to the project was they had to do some fundraising, obviously, and it was pretty impressive that they built this project with no mortgage. I mean, this is a substantial project here. The fundraising continued for a couple of years. We got going immediately. We would use the funds they had available, then we would slow the project down a little bit, and they would raise more money, and then we'd continue with it until completion.
With the final cement pour for the ramp, plus front and back stairs nearing completion, it was time to enter the next stage of construction, the erection of the building frame. When the lumber finally arrived and the frame started to be constructed, the realization that the church's community center was actually being built began to resonate with the parish. The skepticism of some was turning around into a new hope for things to come.
Well, it wasn't so much me. I knew we'd always do it, but I was just a leader in the process. And the real people that had to be convinced that it was going to be a reality and going to be worthwhile for the parish were our parishioners. That took some time, as you suggest, and I would say probably somewhere into the initial foundation plus the initial work on top of that foundation convinced people that it was really going to happen. When they saw that we had a building, they were more convinced. And when they saw the fact that we had an interior that was useful, they were even more convinced. And we funded $2 million worth of community center with no debt.
As support for the community center was increasing and the construction continued, there was a push made to increase the efforts to fund the building. Donations came in many forms, and there were several fundraising events along the way. With the installation of the roof shingles, the stone masonry, and the clapboard siding, the exterior shell was finally completed, and the main focus was now turning towards the interior of the community center.
I was amazed when I first saw it after coming back. Someone had said to me, "Did you go to Cohasset lately?" I said, "No, I haven't been down there in about a year or two." And he goes, "You ought to go look at it. The structure is up." And I remember driving by and just saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." It went from a hole in a foundation to this beautiful structure. Now, mind you, it was not finished inside, but it was being realized. The structure was there, the dream and the vision was being fulfilled.
As the construction of the interior of the building was continuing, the final touches to the exterior were taking place. A brand new 17-vehicle asphalt parking lot with 2 disabled spaces was laid down. Because of environmental regulations, the parking lot was designed to allow water to filter through the pavement into the ground below. Also, a new environmentally friendly walkway leading up to the entrance of the church was constructed. Finally, professional landscapers were hired to add the finishing touches with year-round shrubbery and perennial blossoming plants. The exterior of the community center was now complete. As the interior work continued, the parish was now thinking about the future of the center and what the benefits would be for their Greek Orthodox community.
The community center only has incredible growth potential. For one, it's a place for us to gather after church on Sunday liturgies and other special services like evening services, for example. Before, we only had the church. Now we've got this beautiful community center that we can come together as a community and share ideas, and gives us space.
So, if you think back to this church back in the day, I think there was always a situation where they really were lacking certain things. And the one biggest thing that I always thought, and when I look at the community center, was that this church just needed more fellowship, needed time together, a space where people could meet, learn about each other, learn about their families, instead of, 15 minutes in the coffee area. That's not fellowship. So I think first and foremost that the community center itself will provide that.
In the spring of 2025, the fully operational state-of-the-art kitchen was completed, the windows were cleaned, and brand new flooring was installed. The community center project, started decades before, had now come to a close, and it was time to look towards the future.
So I've been on the project for 4 years, and I'm happy that it's complete. I'm happy that the parishioners are going to be able to utilize the property for which it was intended.
What I see happening with the community center is nothing but growth. And what I mean by that, it will help us to foster more community togetherness, social activities, coffee hours on Sundays afternoon, after services, as well as evening services.
Well, I do want to point out that there was a committee of about 20 people in our parish who did yeoman work on this. It was a pleasure to be a leader among them and to serve with them, and they did a wonderful job, met weekly for a period of years, and developed this as it went along and helped provide the finances for it. And I'll say once again, it's here, it's a reality, and we have no debt.
So it's future use first and foremost, like we talked about before, is fellowship, right? Bringing our community together, but not only the community, not only our stewards or our parishioners, but the greater community, the Cohasset, Hull, Hingham, Situate, that whole area, all those people, we need to speak to them. And I think that we'll do that going forward in our communications, and I think it'll be great.